And now, it's time for another Dice Tower review with Tom Vasel.
Today we're talking about Small World Underground. Now, Small World Underground is a Days of Wonder game, and if you look at my track record with Days of Wonder games, you'll see that while I haven't loved all of them, there have been some that I really have loved. And Ticket to Ride is one, but Small World is another. In fact, here I have the box for Small World, and it's pretty heavy because I managed to fit all the expansions for Small World and this new Small World Underground in here. That's because Small World Underground is not only an expansion for Small World, but it's also its own game. So if you've never played Small World, or you can't find it, or you were about to buy it, take some pause and look here at Small World Underground. Alright? And, well, like I said, take a look at it. You know, I didn't really know how to approach this review. I mean, is there anyone out there who's considering Small World Underground who hasn't heard or played Small World? So, I mean, those people might be there. I just recommend you go watch my review of Small World. And this I'm going to talk about Small World Underground, assuming you already know about Small World. Just like Small World, this is a complete game, and you have two different maps, one on each side. And, well, you actually have four maps, two boards, with two different sides to each board. You can see that the board is darker when we compare it with the original Small World board. This is, lovely, wonderful area, and then the background here. And I'll answer the first question right up in regards. And people say, are the two compatible? And the answer is yes. You know, the mountains in the new game, these are the dark underground mountains of the Small World Underground, are equivalent to the mountains above ground. And each area is equivalent. For example, this little fairyland-ish area here is equivalent to the trees here. And so the different spots are equivalent to each other on the board. There's a little chart in the book. Not every race, not every power, not everything's going to be equivalent, but for the most part, things match over. And if you come to a race that doesn't work on the board that you're using, well, you can simply just take that race out. So I would say, just making up a number here, they're 95% compatible. How's that sound? Okay, so let's talk about the differences. In the original game, there was these lost civilization you're destroying. In the new version, there's a few spots on the board with targets, but in these spots, you're going to put some of these monster tokens. You'll put two in each of these spots. So this is the 4-player board. So on this board, there's 4 spots where these two monsters go. Now, you'll want to destroy these monsters more so than the lost civilization. They're harder to destroy, but it's not impossible. It's in fact easy. When you destroy one, you're going to take a token from the top of this pile and turn that token on, and it will become one of a few things. It will either become an artifact, or it will become a special place, or a place of great mystery and renown. Either way, it's placed in the spot where you conquered those monsters. And then each of these things, and there is 15 different things, which is great because that means they'll be added to every game, but each of these gives a special ability to the person who controls it. If it's one of the places, you control it. For example, the one that I showed you here, which is Diamond Fields, that one, when you control it, you get a bonus coin for this region, and for every other region that's the same as that region. Or some of them give extra bonus coins at the turn end, even when you're in decline. Others consider all the adjacent regions the same terrain type, and they do different things. The other ones are relics or artifacts, and these can be used to conquer other regions. This one here lets you summon the Balrog. Woohoo! And so that's pretty cool, and that adds a whole level of tactics to the game, and you're trying to conquer these different areas. There's a few other terrain features that are different. Instead of having a few lakes, here we have a river that goes through the board, and players are allowed to move through this river, expending only 1 unit for each region that they pass through. So for example, if I'm moving through the river here, I can go 1, 2, 3, 4, and then drop up here. That lets you move quickly through the river. However, at the end of your round, you need to take 1 unit off every spot that you have on the river. There's also a few spots in the board. You'll see them here with a big do not enter. Those are just terrain that cannot be entered into. But one of the new races has a volcano which could erupt in one of these regions, which lets them attack adjacent regions. So that's basically the new stuff. I mean, if you think about it, it's really not game-changing at all, with the exception of the special places and relics. I really like that aspect of the game. It adds a lot to the game to me, and I'd rather use those than the original Lost Civilization. But as for the board itself, I mean, it's fairly similar. The rivers and the terrain notwithstanding. But still, it's fun and enjoyable. Alright, well, if you're looking at this game to buy it as an expansion, well, you're in luck, because there is a ton of new races and new special abilities. So let's take a closer look at some of these here. Alright, here we have the Muddy Kraken. Well, Kraken are a neat race because they can live in the river. So that makes them handy and useful. And again, this game provides a giant reference sheet that has all the special abilities. There are 15 new races, and there are 21 new special powers. So if you add that to all the small world stuff that you already have, well, woohoo! Then we have the Vengeful Shrooms. I'm sorry. But Vengeful, you get a Vengeful marker. Any player that attacks you next turn, you can attack him back. And then the Shrooms are very similar to another race where you, for each mushroom forest. But again, mushroom forest equals forest. So there's all different ones here. I'm not going to go through every special ability. The Shadow Mimes, which I'm sure is a fantasy race you never thought you might see. The Iron Dwarves. The Cultists. Hey, Cthulhu has entered Small World. These guys can summon Cthulhu. Ogres. The Liches. Now, one of the things I like about the Liches is anytime they are conquered when they're in decline, you get a bonus point for them being conquered. So, for them being in decline is a good thing. And that's one of the things I like about this box, Small World Underground, is that it adds a few more powers that have to do with being in decline, which just to me adds to the overall strategy of the game. We have mummies, hurrah! We have mudmen, lizardmen, drow, spiderines, will-o-wisps, and flames. Those are the folks I told you earlier who can make a volcano erupt. And we can have vengeful and mining and vanishing and martyr and quarreling and flocking, which will lead to quite a few jokes. So anyway, I'm not going to show you everything in the game. You have to buy it, haha. Or you can just look it up online. But basically, that's what's in this game. The game comes with a nice... This is much better than the original one because it's easier to stick my fingers in these. Thing that holds all the different tokens. The artwork is once again fantastic. It gives you more coins, another die, tokens for what you need, and all those tokens for the special abilities. So it's a whole game. I don't think... Well, that's opinion. Let's get to the opinion part of this review. By my count, and I'm probably wrong here, I think at this point I have 39 different races and 52 special abilities between all the expansions. I don't know, but that sure is a lot. The combinations there are huge. And the game itself, you know, again, if you want to know how the exact gameplay works, check out my Small World review. But it just seems everything just fits together. Now, this one, is it better than the original? That's what people are going to ask. How does it compare with the original? Well, I like this one better, but only for a few things. It's those artifacts and mysterious places and relics, and I really like that. That adds a huge amount to the game because it gives you another special ability to play with, and I could see a whole expansion full of more of those come out, and that just adds a lot to the game without adding a lot to the complexity. It makes areas of the board worth fighting over. I like the special powers in here. I like the races. I actually kind of like the artwork of the original board a little bit better. This is darker, which is fine. I mean, it's still light darkness, and I like how everything fits together. The races here are slightly more complex than the original game. So if you're teaching games to new players, I might teach the original game first. But you know what? It doesn't matter in my case because I'm mixing them together. I would say this is basically Small World 1.5, where there's some minor changes with rivers and the new races and the relics and the special places. But for the most part, it's it is, in a sense, more the same. But more the same at a fantastic all-you-can-eat lobster buffet is great. So if you like Small World, grab this. If you love Small World, you already own this. If you are on the fence, then I would, if you're a gamer, you love playing games and new rules, get this one first. If you're someone who's new to gaming, then perhaps I would check out the original Small World, but either way, you'll be satisfied and happy.
Thanks for joining us today. For more written, audio, and video reviews, as well as the #1 board game podcast, check out the website at www.thedicetower.com. Until then, this is Eric Summerer, and you've been watching The Dice Tower.